Assalamu alaikum dear students. This is our second lecture in the course. After discussing some types of communication, now we'll see the communication strategies and techniques in detail from this lecture now onwards. So our today's lecture is about oral presentation or the presentation techniques which you should consider while you are preparing the presentations for your work, for your conferences or anything you want to present. So this lecture and our next lecture is about on presentation skills. As we have discussed in the previous lecture that verbal communication is further divided into two categories, that is oral communication and written communication. And oral communication was the type in which we use spoken words or spoken language in order to convey our messages. Situations in which oral communications could be employed include staff meetings, business meetings, and other face-to-face meetings, personal discussions at your organization or with your relationships, presentations at any level or of any type, telephone calls, informal conversation, public presentations such as speeches, lectures, conferences, teleconferences or video conferences, and interviews. For this reason, oral presentations are quite important because in the company environment, most oral presentations are there to build your image on the organization, whether they are prepared for job interview or some conferences or some other purposes. So basically they build your image to the organization, your business team, your boss, and so on up the ladder as a manager, director, or the like. I have presented to the CEO. There are main points in the oral presentation which you could consider. The main purpose of your presentation is to sell both the project and yourself. So this is the conference, the presentation is not to sell yours, is not to sell your product, is not to marketize your product, but rather to marketize your own self image as well. Some authorities suggest that telling a joke is an appropriate way to start a presentation, that you should start your presentation by telling a joke, which is a strategy to involve your audience with you. By telling a joke, you are engaging the target audience with your topic and interest. So in the instructor's experience, which is me, that is a really bad idea. I never ever started my presentation with by telling a joke. So according to my point of view, this is not appropriate, but you could try that. Other authorities suggest that treating a presentation is like a motivational speech. You should give your presentation by motivating other people, by adopting such material, whether spoken or written, in order to instigate other people to act immediately. But bosses just want the facts, so your only motivation should be the material and your method of presenting it expertly. You should present your material expertly. So now the question is this: how to start your presentation? So first of all, you need to introduce yourself and start the presentation. Don't use a title slide, just your first information slide. So on your first slide, there should be information about yourself. Who are you? From which organization do you belong? And what are your credibilities? What are your credentials? Right, so this is your information slide, so it contains information about you. A good initial slide asks a question or makes some statement about profit or business opportunities, and then you can use a quotation slide in which you could write some business related information or quotation. Be prepared to back any claims up, and you should be ready for the questions at any stage of your presentation. In general, PowerPoint slides are better than some sort of slides based on a text file or Microsoft Word. Then came the question about presentation content. What should be in your presentation? Most oral presentation should still concentrate on the 7 C's of communication. And what are the 7 C's? We'll discuss the 7 C's of communication in the upcoming lectures. But some of them are that your presentation material should be coherent, they should be properly organized and well structured, and they are I just name 7 C's here, but the detailed discussion would be in our upcoming lectures. So the first C is correctness, then conciseness, then clarity, completeness, concreteness, consideration, and courtesy. These are the 7 C's of oral presentation or any communication task. So work through these in an organized manner that makes sense to listeners. When changing subjects, a title at the top of a slide is helpful. So you should give um, the title at each and every slide in your presentation. You should pick some, running head. What is a running head? Running head is basically a word or a phrase that describes or summarizes your material on that particular slide. So you should write a running head at the top of your slide in order to inform the audience that you are going to discuss this particular thing in this very slide. Then emphasize major points to a positive conclusion. Project is on schedule, 5% over budget due to front loading of parts orders. Still anticipate coming in one on the dollar. So these are some examples how you emphasize the major points. No major technical issues, current product forecast is on schedule. So in this way, in these 5 examples, you could see how to emphasize the major points to get a positive conclusion from your audience. Then begin before you begin your presentation, you must know the type of your audience, and obviously the type of your presentation content determines the types of your audience. You know that you are going to present some common people, some academicians, some businessmen, some corporates. So you should know your audience, and you should understand what they are looking for in your presentation, why they are here. If you are going to present for your job interview, so you must understand what your hiring authorities are looking in that particular presentation, and what represents a good result here, what outcome do you want, and therefore you need to alter, exclude, or add to the 7. What aspects of your project is there or instigates the curiosity of the listener? For example, picture of a smart mobile phone with caption, scared of the hassle in converting to a smartphone will make it easy for you. So this will elaborate that you are going to discuss a smart mobile phone in this presentation and some hassles in converting to a smartphone. You are going to describe all these things in your presentation. There are certain steps you might consider while making your presentations. First of all, you should select a pleasant background. Usually it happens with me that my students, what they do, they choose some strange type of backgrounds. For example, they choose black background with white fonts, which is not clear. The content is not properly visible on such backgrounds, and this goes negative on the part of presenter, that you if you choose not if you choose some vague type of background for your presentation. So choosing or selecting a pleasant background is very important in order to attract the target audience. Then use colors with care, but use colors. Sometimes people do what they do, they only select the blank presentation with white background and black words. This is also not appreciable. You should use some colors, but by using colors it doesn't mean that you are using red colors, yellow colors, green colors. Use some sensible colors in order to create a good aesthetic image of your presentation. Then PowerPoint graphics are easy to conjure up, so use them. There are very useful graphics in PowerPoint Office nowadays. You can use sometimes, you might use transitions, animations, charts. Then there are other certain graphics which you might employ while making your presentation. Not too many points on a slide. You should Yes, this is another problem with the students nowadays. What they do, they only copied and pasted a lot of material on the slides, even with hyperlinks on the slides, but this is not recommended. You should use your information on the points. You should give some summary of in the points, or in the bullet points, or in the numbering style, rather than giving the whole information in the form of paragraphs. So there is a rule about it which is called KISS rule. The KISS rule is keep it simple, stupid. Choose font carefully. For example, the most preferable font is Time New Roman, because in Pakistan we follow APA reference style, which is American Psychological Association preferred style of citation, and it recommends the use of Time New Roman with 12 font. So you should follow all these things while making your presentations in terms of font and style of your content. Then you should limit your capitals, but you can use them for emphasis. At the points where which you put an emphasis, or some type of important information which you want to convey through your presentation, you should capitalize them. But otherwise, the rest of the content should not be capitalized in your presentations. They should be in sentence form, and the capitals should be used only where it is necessary. Then there is another problem with the presenters, that they do not check their spellings or typos mistakes, whether in PowerPoint or in Microsoft Office, while submitting their assignments. So this is a problem. You guys do not check your spellings and grammar. So please do check spelling and grammar. Nothing makes you look like a bigger loser than bad grammar and spellings. Limit PowerPoint special effects such as swooshes and fade-ins. These create a bad impression on your teacher, on your target audience, on your hiring authorities, that if you use fade-ins in your PowerPoint. These are the styles of animations. Fade-ins are the styles of animations which should be avoided while making your presentation, particularly with relevant to academicians. And the most important thing, if you have special symbols and typefaces on your computer, they may not be on the presentation computer, which may garble in your information. It happens with the linguists, particularly because the students who are studying phonology and some other sciences of language, so there are certain symbols to describe the phones and phonemes of language. Sometimes it happens you have installed a phonology based keyboard on your computer, but it happens that if your presentation is in your USB, and you plug in with another computer, so there are chances that the target computer do not contain the similar keyboard which can recognize your phonemes or fonts for this presentation. So you have to take care of the symbols and signs of such type of things. So a good reason to use your own laptop for a presentation. So in order to avoid these things, you should use your own laptop in which you have installed this type of keyboards. Then don't read your slides. This creates a bad impression on the target audience. That it happens with me often that students came and they just kept on reading your slides, but this is a very bad impression while giving your presentations. Similarly, you should avoid jargons on your slides unless the audience is really on your from your field. They cannot understand what type of vocabulary you are using, so you should avoid such professional based vocabulary in your presentation. Then a little jargon may have to heighten your credibility. Um, and also you should take care of your audience regarding technological level. You should consider that your audience has a proper knowledge of the technology you are using in your slides or Microsoft. So that's why be selective while choosing technological things in your presentation. Always have a backup for your presentation. Sometimes students give lame excuses that they have lost their presentation because of the change in computer or some type of thing. So you don't want to be crippled by the loss of your presentation, right? So you should keep a backup for this. Although there are other media than computer based display presentations, don't worry about them. I haven't made a slide or non computer presentation in nearly 30 years. So they are handouts can make sense if some of the information is particularly complex or lengthy. In general, use horizontal landscapes slides. Then there is very important factor on which we can talk about while making presentations, and that is speech anxiety. So this happens with every presenter that you come across with some kind of speech anxiety while presenting. So there are tricks to avoid some speech panic. Be well prepared. The first thing is this: quickest way to gain respect. True story, female colleague presentation to a hostile audience, and hit them hard, get their attention with some trick in the beginning. Better is this that visualize them as friends, and it's hard to be afraid of friends. So you should, while you are standing on the floor, you should think that the audience is just like your friend. So they, after that, you will not be afraid of them. If you make a mistake, forgot it and move on and hang loose. This happened with the students normally. When if they forget something at the middle of the presentation, they stop. So the stoppage is not recommended. You should keep on moving without feeling any loss or any mistake you made. Next, allow yourself to relax. Tenseness causes some time of trouble and increases anxiety. So you should relax yourself first of all. Some tips on the style of presentation. So first is about communication, and as far as communication is concerned in the presentation, so it will be verbal plus body language plus vocal strain. You should keep a good posture as far as your body language is concerned. Some people stand in very bad way, so you should stand in appropriate way. And then as far as vocal strain is concerned, so vocal strain, sometimes the people's voice becomes shrieky when they are on the stage. So you should keep the tone of your voice normal. Eye contact, that is very necessary while you are presenting. Direct connection with the audience is important in order to grab their attention to your presentation. Scan the audience, look them all in the eye. You should look in their eyes in order to attract themselves. Speak from your diaphragm or project rather than speaking some other unnecessary information. Don't block the screen or other media. Don't need to stand in front of your multimedia or your screen, which can hide your content or PowerPoint presentation. Avoid distracting mannerisms like hands in pockets, ooze, or staring out into space. Such things should be avoided on the part of the presenter. Don't be stiff, keep it somewhat informal, dress well or appropriately, be enthusiastic. A comment on many of my student reviews. The elevator speech is the solution for presenting your topic. An elevator speech is a clear, brief message or commercial about you. You see the commercials on TVs nowadays, so elevator speech is a commercial about your personality. It communicates who you are, what you are looking for, and how you can benefit a company or organization through this presentation. The elevator speech is so. The example is so, here is the deal. You're bored, the elevator are at work, and there is CEO, your boss by herself or her boss or the CEO. She says, how are the things going on? You and your team have a great new idea that will make $100 billion product. You need to immediate funding, and what you do. So here the emphasis on the four important pillars, which is who are you, and why are you important for this organization? What are you talking about, and what you do? Why, what is unique about what you are doing, and impact, what it brings, basically what you plan to accomplish or are currently working on accomplishing. So, fluent communication can enhance your career, inept communication can sink it. You see, the ship can sink if it is not properly guided, or if it doesn't follow the proper route. So, your inept communication can sink you. So, conclude in presentations, focus on the audience, connect and show your enthusiasm, be prepared, know what your audience expects and their hot buttons. Thank you so much for this lecture.